So recently I was going on a nostalgia spree. I was listening to old opening and ending songs, stuff that I used to have constantly on loop playing for hours, and I happened upon this opening song, Recreators. It is something that every so often I remember, and it never leaves my head. It is always living in my head rent free, always something that I always just think back like, man, I really wish we would have had more. And I want to take a few moments to talk about just how incredible Recreators is as a series, and just why I think seriously deep down there was just so much untapped potential. That there was potential here to be able to bring us like a season 2 or even spin-offs from this story. Now, I made a post earlier today actually talking about Recreators, and to my surprise, a lot of people in the comments, said that it didn't really need a season 2. And I kind of want to discuss this, because I do think this is a very fascinating point, because, yes, I do agree that Recreators, in terms of the way it ended, like, if we're going on and, like, looking at all the episodes, and we're looking at the conclusion of the story, it legitimately is a fantastic ending. But there is a lot left unexplained at the end, and things that could be explored further, because of just the way the premise is presented throughout its very short season, or these 22 episodes. There is just so much untapped potential, and let's talk about that. So, first things first, the opening and song is something, like I said, has stuck with me to this very day. I felt it was just, like, ahead of its time, honestly, and going back and listening to this again and kind of seeing the way the opening was done and getting to see all the characters, like, in the opening song, I was just like, man, this literally has, like, everything that you would like from a Fate story into this, and it's a reverse isekai, and it's just, like, imagine if they could have gotten, like, licensing or rights to, like, iconic characters. Like, hypothetically, like, let's imagine, like, some of our characters was replaced with, let's say, Natsuki Subaru from ReZero. We had maybe, like, a famous character from Gundam pop up. Maybe we have, like, a Monogatari character appear. Maybe Guts appears from Berserk. All these different characters kind of in the same verse. It would have been a really fascinating direction if the story ever wanted to continue. For instance, like, a season 2 or whatever. And here's the thing, okay? The reason why I am kind of even talking about this is because the very premise to this very day is super freaking unique. Like, it has been replicated to a degree in some aspects, but I have never actually seen a series, at least an anime, that has done what Recreators did. And let's clarify. The overall arcing premise of Recreators, if you are unaware of it, is about basically our real world being invaded by fictional characters. Like, for instance, like I already said, imagine, like, Guts from Berserk just being in our world randomly. Like, he just randomly appears in our world, and then he finds out that he is just a piece of literature, that he is a character written just to suffer, so to speak. You have stuff like that. You have characters that come into the world, and the very premise of it is these characters becoming aware that they were written by their creators, and that they kind of want to, in their own way, they have different goals, motives. Some will be fine with it, some want to fight back against their creator because they're upset that they were put into a world that's just straight up hell. All these different type of things. And like I said, the very premise is fascinating. The only thing that really comes to mind that really reminds me of Recreators is an old book series I used to read called Inkheart. I don't know how many actually remember Inkheart or anything like that, but it was a book series and a trilogy that I legitimately enjoyed. Just seeing characters from a story come to life and then realizing they're actually just from a story. But let's dive a little bit deeper. Why do I think that this series has untapped potential and potential to have a season 2? Because obviously from the comments I can gather, a lot of individuals think that it doesn't need one. And I do agree to an extent. But once again, this character in question is a big reason why I think Season 2 was possible. For instance, if anyone has watched Recreators, Magane right here was someone that actually survived. And if you look at a brief look at her synopsis, she was a criminal, she murdered people, and if we look at her overall arcing abilities, infinite deception of words, basically to explain, her ability is to reverse cause and effect by making someone deny what she says. So, like, if she says, like, oh, you don't have, like, or you have popcorn, like, in your pocket, and when they say no, they'll instantly have popcorn in their pocket. That's a very small example, but what I'm saying is she's able to bend the very, like, reality itself, laws of physics and reality to her whim. And so, after the events of Recreators, after everything happened and all that with, like, the characters and stuff and the conclusion, Mogane was still around. She was still alive, and even if she lost her powers eventually or whatever, she still had a time frame to where she would be able to potentially mess with the world and create an entire situation like Recreators once again, because she liked enjoyable moments. She loved to be entertained, so to speak. And so when you think about just everything with her character, it made sense that she had the potential possibility of, let's say, creating a new Recreator Season 2. Now, let's just go on a limb and say that doesn't happen. That never happened. And obviously, if it was, it would have already been done by now, because it's been like 6 to 7 years, basically, since Recreators. Like, look, you can see it right here. It's been a long time since Recreators kind of came out. And it's clear at this point in time, we're never going to get a Season 2. I think that is something I think we can all collectively agree on. But the thing about it is, it's not just, let's say, the continuation of a Season 2. There's also just other characters within this story. Like, straight up, Recreators had a lot of, like, interesting characters throughout its entire story that were explored to an extent, but there was a lot of possibilities to make spin-offs. Like, imagine just a spin-off story of just some of these characters in their world, and getting to see how they go to day-by-day life and all that. I don't know, there was a lot of untapped potential throughout the overall story that I felt could have been done, and Recreators could have been a very big product. It could have been a very huge series that made a lot of, like, big names for itself, honestly, over the years, but it obviously didn't. And one of the things I think really kind of costed Recreators in the end is actually the site I'm currently on. This is Amazon, and if anyone remembers, back in 2015, 2016, 17, Amazon was hard pushing for their own anime service. They were hard pushing for basically releasing anime, licensing anime, and at the time period, I said that, I think it's good that they're diving into anime, but I think the way they released things was obviously bad, and a lot of series went onto their platform and just straight up died. Like, there was just, like, nobody really caring about the series because of just the way the service was. And then the subtitles and the release was just, it was really bad overall. It was just very poor. And when you think about just everything, I feel like Recreators and a lot of series around this time period that was on Amazon suffered greatly. And it's very similar to kind of what happened with some anime on Disney+, like, for instance, Summertime Renderer. And it's just sad to see series that are just so fantastic, that stand out and blow people's minds, straight up turn out to just fly under the radar or never reach a new level of popularity because of maybe some of the services that they are actually placed on. But, I wanted to kind of do a little bit of trip to the past and talk about Recreators. I'm just sad that I never got any form of continuation. I know that I should be happy with what I got, but I feel like there was just so much untapped potential from this story, and it could have just been something so incredible if they would have done certain things. Like, we could have even seen an epilogue of some of these characters and all that, of how they dealt with everything after the events. There's just so much potential. Even a movie. Hell, I would even have accepted a small movie. But, yeah, it's a product of its time, and I really do think that if it ever is given a chance, I would love to see some aspects of it explored. But I'll leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this topic because it's a series that just always, like I said, is in my head rent-free. I can never forget about this series. It's always there, and I'm always thinking about it. And it could have been something crazy if it would have continued. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. May you all have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.